Hi, we're having a little bit of a technical issue. Okay, no, we're good. Okay, happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome to the Scaled Down Livestream, where we dive into all aspects of scaling down, aging, and everything in between. I'm your host, Natalie Lewin, and each week we get expert advice, personal stories, and practical advice to help you navigate these important life transitions. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with fellow realtor all the way from Texas, who also specializes in serving seniors, Kathy Corden, your transition partner. Kathy has built a successful business primarily focusing on serving her senior clients and families with estate properties. She advocates that agents serving seniors focus on the seniors' life transitions rather than just the real estate transaction. Her strong partnership with allied professionals in the senior space are a hallmark of her success. Since 2016, Kathy has been producing her weekly vlog called Transition Tuesdays. In today's episode, we'll dive into what it means to serve seniors and how working with these specialized agents can help you and your family navigate this chapter of your life. So, whether you're interested in exploring your options or you're just seeking advice or inspiration, you're in the right place. So, let me welcome our guest, Kathy Cordon.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Kathy. So glad to have you.
So glad to be here.
You know,
I listened to you introduce me, and I'm pretty impressed with myself. So I don't ever, you know how we are. We don't ever think of ourselves in those big terms.
I know. So I'm really excited to be having this chat with you as a fellow realtor that is passionate about helping seniors and their families transition to the next chapter of their life. I'm excited to hear what you do, how it all came about, and together, how do we help our people transition smoothly?
And I'm excited to share. So let's get going.
Let's get right into it. So, what inspired you to focus on working with seniors in the real estate industry?
And that's a great story, and it has two parts. The first is I'm a second generation and second career agent. I started my pre-licensing coursework the week my Medicare card came in the mail. And for those out in the US, that's age 65. I'm not sure how that works up in Canada. Yet I was clearly a senior myself when I started. Yet I had been in real estate since high school because both of my parents were. So, but it was like secondary. And so I knew the business. And my mom was a residential agent for almost 30 years. And she, in later life, got lung cancer, and it was very severe. And she wasn't expected to live very long. Well, that woman lived 6 years, and they
Wow.
had expected 3. And she did it pushing hard and in total denial that there was anything to get in her way. And so when the weekend they put her into a hospice care home, I was living in DC. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. And my husband and I went to be there, and my father, I'm the oldest daughter, I'm the alpha daughter. So he was waiting for me to come and be in charge. And yet as I walked into that room, I had a lot of trepidation. This is a woman who was insisting she was going to go to my cousin's daughter's wedding in Michigan when she couldn't get out of a chair. Wow. So how she was going to handle being in hospice. And I opened the door and said hello. And the only thing she said, and it was actually one of the last statements she ever made, "They've taken me from my home." Right. And it broke my heart because I knew what our home meant to her. Mm-hmm. And so when I went into real estate all those years later, it was to kind of carry that torch for people that for whom this was a real struggle. It isn't just moving on in life, but the home really has, to the silent generation and to the folks that are probably 15, 20 years older than I am, has a very strong pull. People live there for 40, 50 years. And the second part is, I came from the nonprofit human services background, where I was a nonprofit exec and active in a number of organizations on the national and local areas in behavioral health and working with at-risk kids and families. And mission had always been a core part of what I did. And so this allows coming in and running a business to have mission and to help folks. And I have heard the echo of my mother's words with a dozen of the clients that I've served for whom the home really had a core identity. So it was a natural transition for me in my own time of life, in my family legacy, and in how I had been successful before. And we always want to carry what we've been successful in before into what we're doing now.
So I learned so much about you that there's so many parallels that we actually share. One, I'm also second generation. My dad was and is a realtor for maybe around 40 years. I'm the eldest daughter. And this isn't similar, but a little bit similar. One of the stories that are near and dear to my heart is my grandmother. Mm-hmm. And she suffered with Alzheimer's. And I can remember, like, one of her core memories was her home. Mm-hmm. She would disappear and she would wander, and she would always say that she's going home. Mm-hmm. And that was something that she remembered. She remembered her address. She remembered, like, I'm trying to get home. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get home. I'm trying to get home. And that it's that core memory, that core feeling. It symbolizes what home symbolizes to people. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, it's so powerful.
So powerful. So thank you for sharing. So, one thing I know that you started your career in, I believe, North Carolina.
No, in Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia.
Sorry, D.C. and
D.C. metro area, Northern Virginia's suburban Maryland, and the District of Columbia. And I was licensed in Virginia and D.C. I was not licensed in Maryland.
Okay. So talk to us how that transition of your own got you to Texas.
Yeah, and that's actually, I say it's my scaled down story of my own, because my husband and I had been planning for several years. We had explored Florida. We had explored the Carolinas. We had thought about where we would go when we were 5-8 years out from retiring, in order to be there and become part of the community, not just finish, move, and start all over again. Right. And I had worked remotely as a program developer and grant writer for a large nonprofit here in Dallas from my home in Northern Virginia for several years when I was in human services. And so I had friends down here. My cousin lives very close to where I live now. And when we were making the decision, I said to my husband, why don't we look at North Texas? It's growing. And that's one of the things that you had asked me questions to get ready about, kind of what is it about Texas? The Dallas Metroplex, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, Fort Worth would be mad if I didn't include it, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is growing dynamically. Okay. And it has strong nonprofit, cultural, arts, sports teams for my husband, a lot of real life-enhancing activities here.
Right.
It also has a lot of traffic, but because of that, that's one of the negatives and one of the struggles when folks that are in their older years come down here. But there's a lot to be offered down here. So we came down, I guess it's about 5 years ago now, and spent a week here with my cousin and drove around and looked in the area close to where she lives, because we're going to live to be by her. We wanted to be by them. So we had made a plan. And this is one of the things one of the things people ask me is, what is one of the most important things when you're doing it is to make a plan, because whether you use it or not, you're able to understand what comes next, and predicting that works. So we had a plan. And then we had come down again, and everything got delayed because of COVID. And so we came down about a year into COVID, drove from Virginia because nobody took airplanes then, and did the exploring again. And then unplanned, my husband's job situation changed that summer, the summer of 21. And so we moved, and the original plan had been to move here in starting in 23. So we were here a year and a half earlier than we thought. Yet because we had made the plan,
right,
we were able to take, and I call it 10 weeks to Texas, and we were here. Now, not everybody has me as the realtor up here and my cousin as the realtor down here. So that made it a little bit easier. Yet we were able to do this transition much more smoothly because we had a plan. We did the work in advance. And so if folks are thinking about maybe, I want to move by the kids. Well, where would you live? Not unless you're putting a granny pod in the backyard, where would you live? And to explore that, and to go and spend some time looking at what are some of the amenities. Are you somebody that likes sports? Are you somebody that wants to be close to the beach? Do you like to play golf? Where can you move into where you're going, like we did, that we had already known everything but the street we lived on before we actually pulled the plug and came down.
It's so funny because what sometimes we think when we, let's say, looking online or hearing about it, and you think, oh, I would love to do this, or I'd love to be here. But when you actually get there, it's actually not the bells and whistles that you thought it was. So it's so important to be able to go there, feel it. How do I feel in this area? Might it be the right area? Might my cousin's area be the right area? And maybe that's a no, and maybe it's a yes. But it's so important to have the plan, do the research, so that when the time is ready, you can implement.
Right. And I have a quick story to tell you. I volunteer at the area senior center. I am sponsoring trivia for the entire year. So I've gotten to know the people because I was doing it month by month, and then I just bought the year of 2024. And so I know them a little bit. So I catch up with them when I'm there. And there's a couple who were talking to me, and then I say I'm sponsoring. So I introduce myself as I'm a seniors real estate specialist. And they said that they were driving back an hour and 45 minutes because they had moved to a 55 plus community. They had lived in this town. They wanted to stay close. They love the senior center. They are of the primary movers and shakers in the senior center, which is a really strong senior center. And they didn't like the planned 55 plus community that they were in. It was too much, everybody wanting you to do everything all the time for them. It was, you have your own house, but you can reach out and loan sugar across with your hands out the kitchen windows because there is no distance between those houses. And they really didn't like that environment. So they were going back and forth and coming in their RV and staying to be able to spend time at the senior center. Well, we had a new active 55 plus apartment complex open up. I could walk to it from here. And it's wonderful, and it's brand new, and it's really just an active 55 plus apartment building. And it has a lot of amenities and a lot of fun things. And it does have an engaged community. I've met some of the people that are the activities directors, and I've been involved in a couple of visits, engaging in conversation with them when a committee was meeting or a book club was meeting, so that there's stuff for them to do. They have an apartment that's up on one of the higher floors, looks out over a parkland that's right adjacent to the property, gives them the privacy they want. And so they don't have to drive or stay in their RV.
Right.
So it isn't that what you said about testing it out and really thinking it through is important even in different senior living communities.
So true. So we do a monthly group tour of retirement homes. And even if we're doing a private one, I'm like, let's go have lunch,
Mhm.
have the food, because it might look pretty. You might feel like, okay, this is for me. And then you sit down to eat a meal and like, oh, I couldn't do this every day.
Right.
And
Or they have such a small kitchen that you don't have the capacity to be able to host a meal in your home the way you want. So it's
exactly. Oh, and actually, that reminds me. I do want to ask a question, and it's not a planned question, but in your retirement communities, and let's say more retirement homes, do they have kitchens with stoves?
some do, some don't.
Mm,
It depends. The dividing line is usually independent living does and assisted living does not. And it has to do with the level of the challenges that their population, because they're also different, even if it's an assisted living
reliability.
is one assisted living.
Right.
So it's a matter of how much the food is included, and if they deliver the food to the individual or the couple in the apartment. And so how much do they need food, and how safe it is for them to have an actual stove in the apartment? Because if they have people that are really beginning to have some memory care issues and being just somewhat disorganized, and there's a lot of different, all kinds of dementia and neurological issues that can come up, or vision issues that can come up, you don't want the opportunity to
Danger.
put something on the stove when it's hot.
Right. So that's one thing about, well, I know within Toronto and maybe the GTA have yet to see an actual a full kitchen. Usually they're just kitchenettes, no stoves, just a microwave. And so I think that's one of the things that are also lacking. I understand, but I think seniors in our area are looking for options, and we need more options because they're younger seniors
Right.
or younger older adults that are looking for options, would love to be in the community, but they're active, they're still cooking, they want to cook, and they want to entertain, and that gives them no option to do it.
Right. And that's the active 55 plus communities versus independent living, and
Right.
then up that spectrum into
Right.
assisted living. And all the apartments have full kitchens because
Right.
it's just comes outside of fair housing laws to be able to have the limitation of 55 and
Right.
over, or 62 and over.
So that's what we need to, and I mean we in Toronto need. We need more diversity of communities. So there's more options, obviously, for these mature adults.
Yeah.
So, what makes Texas attractive place? And I know Texas is massive. So, what makes North Texas attractive place for seniors looking to scale down or relocate?
I think I talked about that when I talked about kind of why we came. It's a very diverse, lots of culture, lots of growth, lots of industry growth. That also means the arts and entertainment, and we had several Taylor Swift concerts here. That's how it's that kind of diverse community. A lot of growth, a lot of, like I said, entertainment, and we have the two other things. One is we have the cultural history of the being in Texas. So there's a lot of historical pieces as well to explore and to get to know and understand. My husband and I do that. We'll do day drives to different.
Right.
There is a town called Paris, Texas. Has a little Eiffel Tower with a red cowboy hat on it. Yeah.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah. We went, and several people thought we'd actually gone to Paris and weren't really looking at the whole thing.
Right.
So anyway, so there's a lot of different, then you go down to Houston, then you can go down to the Hill Country and to Austin, very different parts. This is a very large geography. The other one that I like the best, and I'm winking at you because it doesn't snow here. That's the other thing that's very attractive. When I said I wanted someplace warmer, I should have been a little more specific about that because it can be 108 degrees here, which
Right.
is like 35 for you or something. But it's still, we haven't used a snow shovel in 3 years.
That's beautiful. So you know what? A lot of Canadians I've been hearing are going to Texas for many different reasons, but I'm sure whether the fact that it's a growing state is very, very inviting to many.
Yeah, the snowbirds don't just go to Florida anymore.
No, they don't. There's so many more options, and people are starting to explore, like, what do my options look like?
Right.
Perfect. So I know we spoke about features and amenities that seniors are looking for in Texas, but what are your housing types?
See, here, one of the things we have is that we have a lot of one-story living based on the fact that it's Texas and that's how the houses were built.
Okay.
Yeah, in some of the newer suburbs, there are probably a mix of 50-50 single-story and two-story homes. And we don't have basements.
I was just about to say, do you guys have basements?
We're all on slabs. So
Okay.
it's, which I miss. I desperately miss my basement, but that's something I gave up for not having to shovel snow.
Right.
So, but there are, in almost all the communities, there are houses, and there was a large boom in the mid 70s into the early 80s. And so while compared to you and my roots in Northern Virginia, these are not old houses. These are considered older stock.
Right.
And one of the things that the last two listings I had, one was sold by a senior, one was sold by a family in an estate. Okay. That the parents had bought that house as their senior home. Right. One floor, 1,800 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a garage, a small gated yard. And so it was really manageable. And there are thousands of them. So right. That makes it easy for people to come and really still be able to live in an established neighborhood. Right. And both of the buyers of those two houses, one was a young couple in their 70s that had just gotten married, and they were buying a home together because they didn't want to live in either one of their homes. Right. And the other was a woman who wanted to be close to her grandchildren. So they were both purchased by seniors. Right. And I think that that's part of what makes us attractive, is that our basic inventory is appealing to the over 60 crowd population.
Got it. So in Toronto, and let's just speak about Toronto, a lot of the bungalows, we call them bungalows, a lot are being purchased by builders, people who want these larger two-story homes. And now it's like, well, where are we housing our older population?
Right.
And who doesn't want to be in a condo and not ready to go into independent retirement home? Mm-hmm. Where do they go?
Right.
And so that's definitely a problem here. They see bungalow, it's like, oh, that's great that's great frontage and great for building.
Yeah, and that's more the story in Northern Virginia and the Washington D.C. area than it is down here, because our neighborhoods are so much made up of single story and mixed 2-story and single stories.
Okay. So can you share some stories about is there any differences from one state to the other, from your last state to this state? Any differences in senior communities?
No, I think that they're pretty much the same because I came from one very large metropolitan area to another very large metropolitan area. And so the reasons for people want to stay in DC because they have family there and they've been there forever, so that there are active 55 plus communities, active 62 plus communities, independent CCRCs, blah, blah. And the same down here. And in my very local area, there's an abundance of still building both independent and senior assisted living communities. I think the difference is that folks in my community can stay in these homes longer,
Right.
because we don't have what in the Northeast we have is mostly 2 and 3 story
Right.
buildings with no bathroom on the main living level and no bedroom. And
Right.
so because we are in, ranch style homes here, we can stay longer
Right.
and not have the real push to get us out. A lot of the build for especially the ones that are combined, independent to assisted living through memory care. There are many of those here. Are folks moving in to be close to their kids and able to age in place for
Right.
a longer period of time.
Got it. So I want to shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
So I know that you have grown your business from being a realtor who specializes with helping seniors transition, but then you went and you grew into helping other agents grow their business and
Right.
be able to be of more value and not just thinking of like, let's make that sale. So talk to me about that. How did it start? Why did it start? And how is it going today?
Why did it start is because two things. One is, if you look at the growth projections in the next 10 years, 10,000 people turn 65 every day in the United States and probably in Canada. Although the number is probably smaller proportionally, you have the same number of people moving through the age ranges. And 80% in my demographic own our homes. So we are sitting on inventory if you look at it through a realtor's lens, and too many people look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
In the next 10 years, we're going to be moving, and because of health challenges and other challenges, maybe financial challenges, we're going to need to move someplace else. And so that we hold the keys to the future of the residential real estate industry.
Okay.
And people aren't quite getting that as much. I mean, people talk about the silver tsunami a little bit. I don't think it's a tsunami. I think it's a gradual build till it hits a really strong place. The other piece is, as you just said, many agents look at it as just being another niche.
Right.
And there's a difference between selling the senior's home and really helping the senior through an entire life transition, especially when you're working with folks that are moving into some kind of senior living communities. That's letting go of their homes. Think of what I said about my mom. I've had several other clients that for them that has been, I don't want to leave here, and just being really unhappy at having to live in assisted living situations. Right. So how do we help them plan sooner? How do we help engage them with local resources that we trust, not do a Google search to find this?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people, because I have a saying that I know you've heard me say, which is everybody's got a senior, so that I talk about it in in the Chamber of Commerce meetings, not necessarily because they're going to sell their house, but because everybody's got a senior and they know these stories and they're concerned about somebody. And the number of people that come up to me and say, I really wish I'd known about you. So I want agents in our field, in our industry, to be ready to do what they have to do. It's not just a matter of you're just shifting to a different first-time buyers, buy-up buyers, investor buyers, senior buyers. No, this is really different. And we say sometimes it's as different as commercial real estate is from residential real estate. It's you need different partners. It's intergenerational because you're often dealing with adult children. And those can be those alpha daughters like you and me, or they can be kids that have moved away and they don't have time or they don't care. Right. And so you've got family dynamics going on and multidisciplinary, because we need to have real knowledge. You say you go on monthly tours of the senior living communities. We need to know what's there and help them prepare themselves mentally and emotionally. And
even if they're not ready today.
Pardon?
Even if they're not ready today.
Right. They need to know it's not the home. Some of these places are like cruise ships on land. It's really very well appointed, and a lot of activities and a lot of resources and a lot of features that they can participate in. Yet it's really difficult to move from home. The stuff gets in the way. Yeah. I'm still of the generation. I have brown furniture, Waterford, and China. And I believe it's wonderful stuff. And my nieces and nephews all say, I'm not taking it. Right. So there's all of those pieces to deal with. Yes. So really helping them move through a life transition. And as part of that, we have the ability to come in caringly and make sure that they don't get taken advantage of by contractors, that they, the places that they're going, we know the quality of services that they're going to receive there, and really help them move through a process. And it can take a year or two to go from meeting them to moving them, to get a senior move manager in to help them understand what they can take and not take, because going from 2,500 square feet to 600 square feet is a huge downsize.
And a huge culture shock as well.
Yes, right. And that couch is just not going to fit in that living room.
No.
So all of those pieces, and agents that come into senior, even to some of the senior professionals, business networking groups that don't have this understanding, will come in looking to get a listing. And when working with seniors, I really want to make sure that they're combining excellence in our industry care,
right,
and empathy with what the senior and their family are going through, and be able to work that through. So that's why I've begun focusing on the networks I've helped found for seniors, and I am in partnership with the coaching and training and mentoring that I'm doing in Texas. I've got a couple of courses that we've been able to get approved for CE for agents to be able to renew their licenses, because we need to get this awareness out there. And I think we need to elevate the level of service to seniors everywhere because they get treated very badly. Yet for my heart and your heart, it's also within our real estate industry.
Yes. And so I've been hearing this more and more from clients that I'm just touching base with. And some of the time my mindset is, oh, I don't want to bother them. They're going to think I'm bothering them. And I keep getting, thank you for remembering us. That people forget about the old people. And thank you for remembering something so simple. Right. There's another story. Like, I've been talking to somebody for years, never met face to face. They happened to live very close to my home. One day, drove there. I'm going to introduce myself. Get there, park, I freeze. And that imposter comes in, like, don't bother them. They don't want to hear from you, blah, blah, blah. So I drive away. Next day, I'm like, oh no, this is what you're here for. Go and introduce yourself. And so I introduce myself. I knock the door. He answers and he's delighted. He already knows who I am. He's delighted to see me. He invites me in. He shows me around. When I'm leaving, he says, thank you for coming by. And I was like, oh, thank you. And I'm
Mhm.
like, you know what? We are more than real estate agents. We're more than real estate agents. I believe that selling the house that's the easy part. It's everything in between that I want to be knowledgeable about. And
Right.
if I don't know about a certain situation, I know who to go to. And I've created that community, that's
Mhm.
network that I can call with a question so I can help um, make this transition as smooth as possible.
One of the things as you were talking that I just put together, the tooth pieces that have been sitting in my mind, is that yes, when we're working with older adults, they really do appreciate who we are, what we do for them, and their families oftentimes also appreciate it. The kind of the other side of that is people in our field say they don't want to deal with seniors because they call 25 different times with the same question, and they lose track of things, and they need a lot of hand holding, and yes, they do. Yet for me, the real payoff is in what you just described, that they are so grateful for
Mm-hmm.
all of the pieces that you've pulled together, that all of the other pieces about having to call back, pretending that I haven't answered that question 4 times, and just answering it again with warmth and care. That's little compared to the difference that we can make in their lives. And I think making a difference for seniors is really critical.
Yeah, totally. And you know what? Sometimes just being able to have a chat, like to to take care of their loneliness. So
Mhm.
decades ago, my coach used to listen to my call logs. And I don't know, I would get a lot of seniors because I'm a cold caller, door knocker. I love it. And I would get a lot of seniors and I'm sitting on the phone. They want to talk. I'm like, I can't just say bye. And I would gain, laughter, information that I had no clue about, history lessons, and I enjoyed it. Like this
Mhm.
is one of the things that I love the most is being able to take my foot off the gas and just sit and be in the moment. And I enjoy that part. I absolutely love it. So
And that's what makes you successful in your business with seniors, is because you come to where they are and you
yeah,
connect with them at a level that is way beyond
right.
square footage updates, sign in the yard, what kind of pictures. I think all
Exactly.
of that is, they don't care
No.
about those pieces. They do care about I mean, most of the time they do care about getting the money out because they need it for the care, but it's, it's being able to sit with them and be part of their journey and become part of their story. And then they become part of yours.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you built an online community. So not just your vlogs, but a community for realtors
Mhm.
to mastermind, gain insight, share insight. How is it going? And how did you get that started? What are some
It's a funny story. So I've moved down here, yet my business in the DC area was so strong that I went back after the first full year I was here. I was actually running business up there and just kind of getting my license down here and getting to know people down here. I never got very far in. I had a couple of clients, but it was very small because everything was going on up there. And so I was stressed out to the max. And I knew that I wanted to do something in the national, to do the advocacy for seniors within our industry. And your name is Adriel Captain. She's a agent in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and she's a peach. And she was in James Shaw's Pivot Shift Ahead group and had posted in the Facebook one night, I want to start working with seniors and interviewing people in staff at senior livings. What should I do? And I literally, it was a Friday night. I closed my computer 3 times because it's like, yeah, I want to do this, but oh my God, yeah, I want to do this. Am I ready for it? And so the third time I went in and said, here's the Zoom link, mastermind tomorrow morning, 10:30 Central Time. Come on in. And we probably had about 15 or 16 people, one of whom was Melinda Cruz de Perna, who's the co-founder and my co-chair for the Serving Seniors. She named it Serving Seniors Real Estate Mastermind and Referral Network. It's a mouthful, but it really describes who we are. We're serving seniors. We're realtors. So it's about their home. It's an agent-only network. We do masterminding and referrals so that I know that I have you in Toronto, and I start with that knowledge already. And I'm not just cold calling some agent in Toronto because I have somebody that wants, for some reason, to move up where it snows. Not me. So we had that mastermind call, and Melinda said, I've been thinking about doing a Facebook group. And I said, fine, I'll be happy to do it with you. So we then had several conversations. We set up a monthly mastermind call. Right. And the first ones were people that we knew in the network, and the two of us kind of walking through the basics. And then we began to think it through strategically. And right. We've had Matt Paxton on, who's the, I don't know if you guys used to have hoarders. Matt was the hoarders guy, but he is really big. He wrote a book, Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff. He's one of the senior move manager gurus. We've had him on. We've had Ellen Goodwin, who founded Artifacts, which is an online way to capture memories about the stuff so that then you can give it away and the family understands the history of things. We've had 1031 exchanges. We've had, this time we just had fraud and concern about preventing fraud with seniors, and Tony Brancato from Charlie.com, which is a new online banking. I believe it's only US based. For seniors, you have to be 62 and over. And it has all kinds of enhancements for seniors. It also has all kinds of protections in it. So right. We were talking about technology helping prevent fraud. So we do that once a month. And then earlier this year, we made the decision to have a second piece, which is we're beginning to develop we're having monthly spotlights on agents who have been very successful with their business models working with right. seniors. And then that will help us have a library for new agents to come in right. to just look and listen to who are the agents that have done really well and what might I be able to pick up from them in terms of hints and good ideas. So right. we have those two pieces. And then just last fall, Catherine Ambrose started the senior call. Yes. And so we have partnered with the senior call, and that's her baby. I have my baby, but our babies play together all the time. Yes. and really provide things to each other. And then the third one is out of this National Serving Seniors group. I started a network in North Texas. And because I'm still in part-time production, but it's as referrals come to me. And I'm not out actively prospecting for new clients, although I am the rainmaker for this network of agents. There's 34 of us across North Texas, which is a huge geography and very diverse communities. And I don't want to learn them all. Yet I know that if I have somebody that wants to be in Rowlett, somebody that wants to be in North Dallas, or somebody that wants to be in Irving or Arlington, or Fort Worth, I can find an agent for them. I can introduce it as a soft introduction and really help seniors that I won't necessarily help directly. I can provide that level of support to them that they wouldn't get just by asking their friends. Right. So but the network of us in North Texas, we meet 8 times a year. We do professional development and networking, and 2 of our meetings are with partners financial planners, estate attorneys, move managers, senior living community folks, placement people that come together and get to meet each other and get to meet us. And we usually have some enrichment that goes with it too. So it's a lot of fun being able to build a community in North Texas that I know will go a long way in supporting seniors locally.
I love it. I love everything that you're doing. Okay, so what advice would you give to an agent that's thinking they may want to focus on serving seniors?
It would be to learn about seniors. You already know how to sell houses, and if you don't already know how to sell houses, this isn't going to work for you, because this isn't a good way to learn it. It's a painful way to learn it, because there's so many other things that go on while you're getting the house ready, and they have health issues and they go in the hospital, and then they have to wait a while, or they have financial issues, or they have family come in and want to try to give their advice, so that there's all these other pieces. Be able to manage a complex transaction and a complex transition. Learn about seniors, get to know about senior living communities, understand it firsthand, not just reading their brochures, but touring not just one or two of them, but 20 or so of them if you're in a larger area. Understand the nuances and the differences, know that their cultures are different, know that their corporate structures are different, and know that sometimes they will be having a waiting list that's 2 years long, and sometimes they're going to need to fill 6 or 7 of them at one time because they end up with immediate vacancies. Understand health and other issues that go along with seniors, so understanding dementia and Parkinson's and some cancers, to at least in a general sense.
Yes.
Know that kind of what they're dealing with, and be able to hear those things through their ears and eyes.
Yeah.
And to understand home care, the difference between home care and home health care, understand the levels of care, so that you can go in and be a resource.
Yeah.
Have partners in your vendor contractors, your painters, your landscape people, the ones that are going to do. I have in DC had one who came in and did much of the work that I did, and he did actual complete renovations when people wanted that done. I trusted him to be in contract with the seniors, and I trusted him to take care of them the way I would. Yes. And that's the level that you want, so that find those people and interview them as partners, right, not just contractors or vendors, because trusting them, I call it the grandma gut check. Trusting them with grandma is really different than trusting a first-time buyer calls and says they want painters. I give them 3 names and they're on their own. Right. This is a really different thing.
Right. Got it. Well, thank you so much. But before we end, I have some rapid fire questions, and let's go. Coffee or tea?
Coke Zero. Sorry.
Oh, that's a new one. Okay.
It's a caffeine delivery system. Right. So that's what we're looking for. And it's Coke Zero. Cherry Coke Zero, to be really specific.
Oh, there we go. Fancy. Mountains or beach?
Beach.
So if you could have dinner with any historical figure, dead or alive, who would it be?
Hadn't thought about that. I would say Jesus, because his last dinner was a really cool thing that kind of continues to live on. And, but I think more Abraham Lincoln would be where I'd probably go.
Okay. So what's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, Lord, honey, I'm way too old for that. Probably Mamma Mia.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's my exercise song. A number of them from the movies. So yeah.
Got it. Well, thank you so much, Kathy. Thank
Absolutely.
you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your insight. And thank you, listeners. Thank you for joining us. As you know, I'm Natalie Lewin of Lux Transitions, a realtor with Keller Williams Portfolio, and I specialize in helping adults 65 plus scale down to their next chapter. I'm passionate about assisting and educating my people and on their important journey. So if you or someone you know is considering a transition, please DM me to schedule a discovery call. Remember, life is beautiful, and I'm here to help you make the most of it. Tune in next week, same time, same place. We will be speaking with Sarah Mumtaz, wills and estate lawyer, about the importance of a will and some facts and myths about wills and estate planning. Take care until next time.